Say I'm a Jewish politician. I'm one of only 5 people in British leadership history that have run as a leader in British politics. So I take this really seriously, and I actually find it offensive from the Times that this is not being taken with the care it needs to. Now, if people have been anti-Semitic, it is right that they've been suspended and expelled from the party. However, I'm also really proud of our party's position on Gaza. We have called for a ceasefire from the beginning, a release of the hostages, and an end of an arms sales to Israel. From the Times article, some of these people being accused have done things like walked with a Palestinian solidarity march. When we conflate anti-Zionism or criticism of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism, that's dangerous. And as a Jew, that makes me feel less safe.
I was probably with the baby breastfeeding. I don't even remember liking that tweet.
But you know what's wrong with it.
I know what's wrong with it, of course.
What is wrong with it?
The line that's there about the they're in professional organisations, it plays into a trope, and I absolutely don't agree with that, and I'm sorry about that.
You know, whenever you have elections in this country, particularly in the UK, the politics of anti-Semitism can't be far away. We saw that since the last elections and how the mainstream media hounded Jeremy Corbyn. They hounded him out of the Labour Party in a bid to make him politically irrelevant. Thankfully, he has agreed to contest the elections as an independent candidate, and hopefully we are hoping that he will prove everybody wrong and return to parliament. There was a conspiracy. He, being a nice guy, could not fight his battle, could not take the dirty agenda of the mainstream media head on, and had to pay the price. Now, as we approach another general elections, anti-Semitism has become another dominating topic in this campaign. Nobody is talking about Islamophobia when there is deliberate and there is a brazen incident of Islamophobia on a mainstream TV channel like Sky News, when Nigel Farage comes and accuses every single Muslim in this country of being unpatriotic. He does it shamelessly. He doesn't get pushback from the presenter. He doesn't get challenged. He doesn't have to pay any consequences. He remains politically not just relevant, but even more relevant, because his political stakes continue to gain prominence as he gets invited by the likes of the BBC and the Sky News more and more often, even to the level when people are questioning whether BBC and Sky News are giving disproportionate coverage to Reform Party. If Jeremy Corbyn was the victim after 2019 elections, right now the focus has shifted, or it appears to have shifted, to Green Party. As we know that it all started with the Jewish Chronicle newspaper launching a tirade against some of the potential candidates of Green Party, accusing them of anti-Semitism. And because it's Jewish Chronicle, how can BBC be far away? Because the owner of Jewish Chronicle, Robbie Gabe, is an important director in the BBC management. I had explained it to you in one of my earlier videos. You can see it here. So the BBC had to go and challenge an important functionary of Green Party. Unfortunately for the BBC, they chose a wrong guy. The deputy leader that they chose to corner him on the question of anti-Semitism, he happens to be a Jewish himself. A Jewish who has been raising his voice in his own capacity for the ceasefire in Gaza. His name is Zack Polanski.
The Times said today that there is a dossier. 20 of your candidates who are standing are circulating anti-Semitic material.
So anti-Semitism needs to be taken with intention and care and needs to be dealt with really seriously. And the Green Party will never tolerate anti-Semitism.
So I should say, those candidates running, or all 20 are they out?
Okay, just say I'm a Jewish politician. I'm one of only 5 people in British leadership history that have run as a leader in British politics. So I take this really seriously, and I actually find it offensive from the Times that this is not being taken with the care it needs to. Now, if people have been anti-Semitic, it is right that they've been suspended and expelled from the party. However, I'm also really proud of our party's position on Gaza. We have called for a ceasefire from the beginning, a release of the hostages, and an end of an arms sales to Israel. from the Times article, some of these people being accused have done things like walked with a Palestinian solidarity march. When we conflate anti-Zionism or criticism of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism, that's dangerous. And as a Jew, that makes me feel less safe. It's really important in British politics we have a sensible conversation about anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all forms of racism.
Would you support Labour's policy, which is in their manifesto and will be published next week, which would give the Palestinian statehood before a peace process is finalised?
I think it's really important that the Palestinian people have statehood. But I would say from the Labour Party, this has come way too late. We had Keir Starmer going on TV saying that Israel had the right to cut off water and electricity to the Palestinians. Emily Thornberry then doubled down on it a few days later. It's really important that with these conversations, we talk about peace building, about this diplomacy and international solidarity. I'm really proud that the Green Party have taken place with that. And it's also really important just to say finally too, that we need to challenge power and wealth in this country. So, for instance, we want to put £50 billion into the NHS. We think adult social care should also be free. Now, to do that, we can't just move small pots of money around. We've got to move big pots of money around. So we're implementing a wealth tax. That'll be a 1% tax on people with assets over £10 billion or more. Now, that would raise about 50 to 70 billion pounds we could put into our public services. I'm not surprised that some of the powerful and wealthy, like the Times article, are coming for the Green Party. I think we'll see this increasingly. We're going to be resolute, say no to anti-Semitism, but stand against power and wealth, trying to make our politics more toxic.
Just a quick...
The reason why his reply to BBC reporter on the question of anti-Semitism is important is because that's exactly what I have been saying, and many sane voices have been saying, that any criticism of Israel is nowadays being conflated as anti-Semitism. So you criticize the bloodthirsty war criminal Netanyahu, and suddenly you will be accused of being anti-Semitic. And we have to fight that. We have to say that enough is enough. Get lost. If that's what you think, that's your problem, not my problem. I think people have to have that kind of conviction. If you don't have a conviction, I think it says a lot about your character than anybody else. You have to say it confidently. And that's exactly what Zack Polanski says in this small clip to the BBC reporter, silencing him, absolutely making him speechless. Now, that is exactly, as I have said in many of my earlier videos, that's a game the right-wing fascist regime plays. That when you question them and when you question their brutality, they start accusing you of being anti-national. Whichever country you live in. I have experienced it for the last 8 years in India when I questioned Modi and questioned his policies. I was accused of being anti-India. And of course, I was not going to be intimidated by that kind of logic, by that kind of accusation. More recently, you saw there is a woman called Faiza Shaheen. She was deselected by Labour Party for liking one of the tweets in the past, which said that the Israelis are influencing institutions in this country. How does that become anti-Semitic? We have seen how Israelis are influencing. Is that a secret anymore? Is that a secret anymore? I have absolutely zero sympathy for her because she goes on Newsnight and actually says that yes, she was wrong to have liked that. Now that says a lot about her. And if she expects a sympathy from people like me, she's mistaken. She's not going to get that sympathy.
Faiza Shaheen, I'm going to put to you what the Jewish Labour movement said about one of the tweets that you liked. Nick mentioned it. And this is the quote: "We've received a number of complaints about the tweet that you liked from local Jewish members who are concerned about the tone of Ms. Shaheen's tweets." And the tweet that you liked talks about the Israel lobby. It says, "Every time you say something even mildly critical of Israel, you're immediately assailed by scores of hysterical people who explain to you why you're completely wrong, how you're biased against Israel. Moreover, you can't easily ignore them because those are not just random people. They tend to be friends or people who move in the same circles as you. Those people are mobilised by professional organisations."
So I do want to say that I don't remember liking this tweet. I was looking, if you see that tweet, it was a retweet of a Jon Stewart sketch. I watched the Jon Stewart sketch But I wouldn't have even ordinarily liked that. Honestly, it was the middle of the night. If you look at the timing, I was probably with the baby breastfeeding. I don't even remember liking that tweet.
But you know what's wrong with it.
I know what's wrong with it, of course.
What is wrong with it?
The line that's there about their own professional organisations, it plays into a trope, and I absolutely don't agree with that, and I'm sorry about that. And I expressed that I was sorry in that meeting yesterday over my crying baby, but, that's one tweet. I've organised an interfaith vigil with a local rabbi after the attacks, Hamas's attack, and brought the imam together. And I've done a lot of work. I have a lot of supporters. They wouldn't tell me how many Jewish members have messaged them, because I can tell you there's a lot more that would offer their support to me. The people that helped co-organise that interfaith vigil.
There's nothing to be apologetic about it. Israelis do have influence, and we don't have to go very far. More recently, we saw there is a TV presenter called Bel Donati. She interviews a member of parliament from Israel and gives him grief. Literally, exposes him and his logic. What happens? She disappears, because that member of parliament writes a scathing letter to the Sky News management, and Bel Donati disappears from the screen. A wonderful journalist, but disappears. It's been many months and we haven't seen her on TV. Sangeeta Maiska on LBC. She gives grief to another Israeli government spokesperson, and what happens? She disappears. And she is replaced with somebody who has been a known pro-Israeli person. So there is nothing wrong in saying that. In fact, that is a matter of concern for every Britisher. That should be the matter of concern, that Israelis are influencing not just the politics in America, but also now started influencing the politics in this country. And that should be the matter of concern. How does that become anti-Semitic? So according to Jewish Chronicle, there is a woman called Elizabeth Watt. She is the Green candidate in Bethnal Green and Stepney in London. She had apparently reposted a video on Instagram in March this year, in which the woman said that what is left for Zionists is to eat the flesh and drink the blood of the Palestinians. I think this will happen soon. What's wrong in that? What she's saying is that Israelis have crossed every limit, and the only things perhaps is left for those Israelis, and she's saying Zionist, she's not saying Jewish. She's saying Zionists have become so brutal that the only thing left for them now is to eat the flesh and drink the blood of Palestinians. I think that's a fair conclusion for anybody, given the atrocities that Israelis have been committing. You have ICJ launching the investigation into Israeli genocide. You have an application of arrest against Benjamin Netanyahu being filed in International Criminal Court. What more do you want? The countries after countries in the world are recognizing Palestine and criticizing Israel and demanding restrictions against this regime. So that is anti-Semitic, and that is a problem. Then another one is a guy called Chris Brody. He's a candidate from Chingford and Wood Green. Now, he had uploaded links to an article that suggested that there was a conspiracy behind 9/11 attacks and 7 October attacks, so that both America and Israel can justify their mass murder. Then another one is the gentleman called Nasim Talukdar. He's from Bristol East. He had liked a video clip in which anti-Israeli activist David Miller says we have to destroy Zionism. What's wrong in that? Zionism is not Judaism. What's wrong in that? So that is why Zack Polanski's comment is very, very significant when he says that do not confuse Zionism with Judaism or the government of Israel. Criticism of government of Israel is not criticism of Judaism or aspersion on Jewishness. These are two different things altogether. So it's really important that people like Zack Polanski come forward and silence these critics, because these are just an agenda-driven journalism. Because you don't go after people who openly indulge in Islamophobic tropes. but you desperately try to link the criticism of Zionism with that of anti-Semitism. That's why I say that there is an agenda behind this exercise, and that must stop. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.